Verb conjugation in Portuguese is the modification of a verb's form that expresses facts, repeated actions, and a list of actions. The present tense is one of the easiest tenses in Portuguese because it has a simple conjugation pattern, but the language has a progressive tense with gerunds, similar to ing in English. This concept needs to be shown a bit later, after understanding basic verb conjugation. To conjugate verbs in the present, we first have to understand how to identify Portuguese verbs. For now, we'll focus on the conjugation of regular verbs in the present. Although Portuguese has irregular verbs too, those will be shown separately in the next video. So, Portuguese verbs always have an infinitive ending that falls into three categories: ar, ir. Common verbs that fall into each category are falar, estudar, trabalhar, comprar, morar, esperar, cantar, viajar, comer, beber, aprender, vender, receber, responder, abrir, assistir, decidir, dividir, permitir, insistir. These words are infinitives, the basic form of verbs without any conjugation in any tense, and each category has its own pattern. The best way to recognize them is to see the time change in a sentence, which combines with the personal pronouns eu, tu, você, ele, ela, nós, vocês, eles, elas. As a reminder, tu is a pronoun that's mainly used in Portugal, meaning you informal, while você means the standard you in Brazil, formal and informal. This difference matters because tu and você are second-person pronouns, but você takes third-person conjugations, despite being second-person. As an additional note, it's worth pointing out that Portuguese also has the pronoun vós, which means you all. However, vós strictly functions as a second-person plural subject that has its own conjugations. While it's common, historically, vós is considered archaic and is mainly replaced by vocês in everyday speech. It can still be heard in parts of northern Portugal, but I choose not to include this pronoun because native speakers mostly rely on vocês. Just like você, vocês is a second-person pronoun, but it takes third-person conjugations. Now, let's begin with ar verbs. The present conjugation pattern for such verbs goes as follows. We get the verb stem by dropping the ending ar from the infinitive. Then we add endings to the stem that correspond to the category of the verb. Since we're beginning with ar verbs, let's use the verb falar, to speak. To conjugate falar in the present, drop the endings, get the verb stems, and add the endings that match the category. For eu, add o. For tu, add as. For você, ele, ela, add a. For nós, add emos. For vocês, eles, elas, add em. When saying such conjugations in context, Portuguese often drops the pronoun because verb endings already tell you who's speaking. Still, because some conjugations are borrowed, it's better to say the subject with them. Falo, falas, ele fala, falemos, eles falam. Now, let's move on to ir verbs, like comer, to eat. The conjugation pattern for verbs in the present is similar, where we get the verb stem by dropping endings and adding the right endings to the category of the verb. For such verbs, consonants are repeated, like esse and emme, but the vowels change from a to e. Also, the ending o for eu is borrowed. Como, comes, ele come, comemos, eles comem. As a note, the word como can mean how, as, or like, but as a conjugation, it means I eat. Eu como. Now, let's finish with ir verbs, like abrir, to open. The conjugation pattern for ir verbs in the present is also similar, where we get the stem by dropping endings and adding the right endings to the category of the verb. For such verbs, most endings are borrowed from ir verbs, but the difference is in nos, using imos. Abro, abres, ele abre, abrimos, eles abrem. After learning this concept, we can fully understand how regular present verb conjugation works in Portuguese. It follows endings that correspond to each verb type, made from stems and verb endings. 1. The conjugation in eu will always have the ending o. 2. Nos keeps the original vowel from the infinitive. 3. Você, ele, ela use the same ending. And 4. Vocês, eles, elas also use the same ending. Instead of memorizing verbs, we can remember verb endings, and then we can conjugate any verb and speak Portuguese using simple phrases like eu falo português, nós falamos inglês, eu estudo português todos os dias, ela estuda matemática, nós comemos arroz, eu bebo água, eles bebem café, eu abro a porta, ela abre a janela. By saying such sentences, this method becomes a fast way to build confidence with Portuguese verbs. So that's how the concept works in Portuguese.